A lot of fun stuff to discuss, some serious stuff to discuss. Obviously, we get into the Swalwell stuff and DoorDash fallout and so much more stuff to get to. The Savannah situation, the woman who was, I guess you could say, assaulted at an anti-ICE rally in Minneapolis. I actually spoke to a few of the people who were accused of assaulting her. And yes, a guy by the name of, and by the way, this is coming up a little bit later on in the program, Alex Stone, known as Roger Stone's nephew, who vehemently disagrees with me about my criticism of Savannah. He'll be joining me at the bottom of the hour for an epic debate. But, to start off the show today, I wanted to at least start off the show with somebody that I have a great amount of respect for. I love following him on social media. I love his podcast. I did his podcast last month. He's one of the best. It's an honor and a privilege for him to come back. Brooklyn Dad Defiant joining us.
Thanks, Brian. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. It's great to see you again, my friend. I always love it when you come on. Let's start with something maybe a little more lighthearted as we get to some more serious topics. The DoorDash stuff. We're learning this lady was like a Republican political operative, and she's saying, "I'm not an actor." What did you make of that whole spectacle yesterday?
Well, I couldn't imagine that. I've been to the White House a few times, and it's not easy to get in there, even if you have an invite. You have to go through many, many layers of security in order to get. In fact, I was never even in the Oval Office. I had to go through all that rigmarole just to get to a common area.
Right.
But so the notion that this random DoorDash woman who also appeared before Congress,
right,
is some kind of just random, yeah, Mac, I got your DoorDash food here. It doesn't fly.
And Brooklyn Dad, it's crazy because she's there to, I guess the only thing the Trump administration can try to brag about is the $25,000 no tax on tips. So she's claiming, and I don't believe her, but she's claiming that she saved $11,000 or the $11,000 she made on tips she didn't have to pay taxes on. But she says she's trying to take care of her husband who has cancer. And if she lost her medical coverage, like many Americans have, that would cost literally hundreds of thousands of dollars to get the correct cancer treatment you need. It's very sad if she's going through this, but it's also comical that she doesn't understand it.
From what I understand about healthcare here in America, and I think I understand quite a bit. I've lived here my whole life. Mm-hmm. I happen to know that if you need an ambulance ride, that's somewhere between $1,000 and $2,000 just a ride in the ambulance. If you go to the emergency room, that is also, just for whatever thing, and you get the minimum amount of care. That's also between $1,000 and $2,000. Chemotherapy, cancer treatments, them's ain't cheap. So I hate cancer. Can I curse on this show? I can't remember.
No.
All right, F cancer.
That's okay. Great.
Whether you're red or blue, left or right, Democrat or Republican, screw cancer. But with that said, the $11,000 maybe might hook you up for a day or two on cancer treatments. More power to her, but I don't think that she's telling the full story. I don't think tips are going to get it done. And really, if she wanted to help her husband, she had an opportunity. She should have said, "Hey, Mr. Trump, why don't you have those subsidies taken care of with the Affordable Care Act, so people like myself can take care of their husbands appropriately instead of, she's a grandma, she's still having to drive and deliver DoorDash. Come on now. Come on.
And I don't think that $100 tip is going to go very far. I tend to agree with you on that one. What did you make of the whole Jesus Trump depiction that he put out, and then he deleted it, and now all of a sudden the right-wing evangelicals seem to have a problem with it because he hasn't done anything inappropriate until then? But what do you make of that whole catastrophe yesterday?
I think Donald Trump has been running his regime like a TV show, and that every week there's a different thing. Now, he could have allowed the Democrats' current crisis with Eric Swalwell to occupy some space, and give him a respite from his usual, lurching from scandal to scandal to scandal every freaking week. This week, and the Trump, in the Trump calamities, is Donald Trump has, put his, has made himself look like a fool yet again. So, first of all, portraying yourself as Jesus, that's no good. Secondly, if you're going to do that, own it. Say, yeah, I did it. I thought it was funny. I thought,
he's a doctor. Yeah, he's a doctor.
But no, he's like, I thought I was a doctor. Really? Really? Where was your stethoscope? What was with the biblical garb there? What was with the light coming out of your hands, bro? And why does that patient look so much like Jeffrey Epstein?
It really did. I'm so glad you brought that up. It did look like Jeffrey Epstein. Why aren't more people talking about that? It did. That was also really weird. Before I get to some more, I want to ask you about Swalwell and Gonzalez, of course. But what do you make of the fact that we're in the middle of a war, okay? And he sends J.D. Vance over there. That didn't work very well. I could have told you that was going to happen. But while we're in the middle of a war over the weekend, he's hanging out with Dana White at a UFC fight with Marco Rubio. How is that happening?
That's an absolute disgrace. But that's the only mode he understands. If it's not UFC, it's golf, or it's some kind of fancy shindig, or he's bragging about his $400 million ballroom. He is inappropriate. Isn't even the word. He's unfit. He's not even. He's just. He's not focused. If he were just a businessman, if he were like the CEO of a company and I was like on the board of directors, I would vote to have him removed because, look, I'm a United States citizen. Let's put aside my TDS, right? You guys out there, you Trump fans, you love to accuse us of having TDS. Let's put that to the side for a minute, okay? I'm a grown man. I'm 57, going to be 58 in a couple of weeks. I'm at the age right now where I like my country just to be run competently, without the drama, okay? Without the nonsense, without high stakes, what's going to happen? We have World War III today or tomorrow, just some normalcy, something boring. They used to call Joe Biden Sleepy Joe, but really you call him Sleepy Joe because we could sleep at night. We weren't waking up like worried what the heck was going to happen with our country. Right? You send J.D. Vance, who is an absolute catastrophe. They said anything Trump touches dies. Oh, my goodness. He went to see Pope Francis and he was dead 24 hours later. He killed his own brother's or half-brother's political campaign. He torched Viktor Orban's. There's a whole list, an entire list. If you want to destroy something, send J.D. Vance.
Viktor Orban got absolutely destroyed. You're so right on that. I would say another dictator. And obviously where we're at right now with this war and the Strait of Hormuz, which Trump is doubling down and making it even worse if that's possible now. There's still no real objective of what they're trying to do. And then while this is going on, we have, I guess on both sides of the aisle, you could say, with Gonzalez and Swalwell, who have recently both stepped down yesterday from Congress. I've said from the beginning when this story came out in regards to Swalwell that, he's a scumbag. Do I know if he did anything criminal or not? I don't know. I tend to believe victims when they make these serious allegations. Of course, there are going to be exceptions to the rule. I mentioned the Duke lacrosse situation. Unfortunately, sometimes people aren't telling the truth, but I tend to believe victims. But I do find this interesting, Brooklyn Dad, that all the right-winger MAGA supporters out there immediately were jumping on the train of Swalwell needs to resign when they still support Donald Trump, a liable sexual abuser. You cannot make this up.
No. I'm right there with you, Brian. The hypocrisy is breathtaking because, we've known ever since 2016, since the Access Hollywood tape came out, that he brags about assaulting women. Going back there, we didn't even have to discuss how E. Jean Carroll's case made him an adjudicated rapist. We don't have to even discuss that. We don't have to discuss the dozens of credible accusers against him. We don't even have to discuss the million different mentions of Donald Trump in the Epstein files, the fact that he was best buddies with this guy for years and said, oh, he's great. He's a terrific guy. Some might even say that he enjoys young women as much as I do, or young girls, whatever. Just going back to that, you caught him on tape in 2016 saying, grab him by the, you know what, and then just laughter, like it was cool, like it was okay. Oh, that's just locker room talk. No, that's him. That's who he is at his core. He's cheated on all of his wives. He's not beating those allegations when even when he's amidst like young 10-year-old girls, he can't even help himself to say, hey, yeah, she's really beautiful. Oh, if if you were a few years older, like he can't even control himself from saying the thing that makes him look like a creep. So yeah, you Republicans, you had nothing to say about Tony Gonzalez when that whole story broke and the woman burned herself alive after that affair. You had nothing to say. So you know what? Keep it like that. Say you have nothing to say right now. They had to be shamed into doing something about Tony Gonzalez, who now I think he's resigning. Is that it?
Yeah. So Gonzalez just announced that he was going to step down. Obviously, Swalwell, I think it's safe to say his political career is over as well. I think it's really a fundamental difference, at least right now, between most Democrats and Republicans, where I saw plenty of elected officials on the left that called out Swalwell. Some of the bigger names on the left were like,
immediately, almost.
Right, immediately. And yet the enablers on the right, when it comes to the Epstein files, Todd Blanche today did an interview. I'm going to play this audio a little bit later, where he lied. And he was asked by a Fox News anchor, can't you guys release all the files right now? And he said, no, that's absolutely a lie. If they wanted to release the 3 million files, Brooklyn Dad, right now, they could do so. Obviously, you redact the victims' names. They're choosing not to do it. And he's lying to the American people. And unfortunately, a lot of the listeners of Fox believe him.
Yeah. I'm not surprised because that is Donald Trump's former defense attorney, which is so inappropriate. I mean, there's no impartiality. There's no separation. That's basically the U.S. Attorney General is now functioning as Donald Trump's defense attorney and helping to block any trouble that any rich and powerful pedophiles in those Epstein files might face. So I think I was stunned at how quickly people started calling out Eric Swalwell, because I was literally like, I was just learning about it. I think did this story break Friday?
Yeah, last couple days. Yeah, it hasn't been that long.
I was like, I was trying to get my feet under me and try to figure out what is happening here. Because usually we like to hear the facts. Let's hear the facts. But there were so many different accusations coming out. And if me personally, if somebody came out and said something about me and made an accusation, I flat out deny it. I'm taking you to court. Let's go now. I'm not resigning from anything because I know myself. But if homeboy, I feel like if he is resigning, I think that speaks volumes. I don't think you resign if you're not guilty.
I think you're correct. And obviously I'm a talk show host and I have people every single day saying the worst possible things you could say about a human being, lies about me. And I said, okay, it's part of the territory. I'm in public life. I'm not an elected official. I'm a talk show host. Let them say whatever they want, because obviously the people that I care about the most, my friends, my family. But if trolls on social media want to call me like a rapist or something, okay, yeah, have at it. Go ahead, find that court case. But I think when you're an elected official, it's a little different. And I tend to agree with you. Why would you resign if you didn't do anything wrong? And why would you immediately apologize to your wife? Now, if it's just cheating, that's one thing. I don't certainly don't appreciate that. But then there's videos going around. Correct me if I'm wrong. I've seen some of these videos of Swalwell with alleged hookers. Okay. which obviously is illegal. That's a crime. But at the same time, we're not just talking about cheating on your wife. That'd be bad enough when you're in public office. But we're talking about you paying for sex, and the videos are out there. And so that's criminal activity, allegedly. And then, of course, we have some women out there that have been very specific about some alleged sex crimes that he's committed. And I'm sorry, but I tend to believe these women. I really do.
Yeah. And he also, in his statement, referenced mistakes in judgment he had made.
Right.
And right there to me, I was like, oh, brother's telling on himself now. So, yeah, I mean, it is really disappointing. It's really disappointing to me because I thought he was about something, and he just turned out to be a creep, and that is really unfortunate. He kind of puts us in a bad spot. I hate to look at this politically, but I'm also looking at the whole thing. I like not just the victims, but also like, his constituents, the Democratic Party. You're putting we're trying to make up ground. We're trying to win the House back. And now we're down a guy.
I used to be a fan of Anthony Weiner. In fact, he's done this show multiple times. And I said, man, he's really a fighter. This guy's a good voice. And then as soon as I found out what he was doing, I was blown away, and I said, this guy can't get back into public office ever again. It's an embarrassment. And then he did it again. And I said, that's it, I'm done. That's, again, a fundamental difference, right? Today between, in my opinion, Democrats and Republicans, and not all of them, but a lot of them. They still stand by Donald Trump. Like you have Luna on social media being one of the strong voices saying, Eric Swalwell needs to step down. You couldn't find a bigger Trump mushroom gobbler than Luna, right? I mean, it's insane, Brooklyn Dad.
Yeah. Where is that energy when it comes to Donald Trump and his dozens of accusers? Oh, well, that's fake news. Even though they all have like corroborating information, information that it all seems to align,
Yeah.
It's par for the course. In fact, they don't hold him accountable for anything. On any given day of the week, I just saw yesterday, JD Vance was blaming Joe Biden for gas prices. It's 2026. The man left office, last January 2025.
And they're still blaming him. Yeah. Let's talk about that real quick. Let's talk about the economy, because you're right. They are blaming Joe Biden. If you're just joining us, Brooklyn Dad Defiant, great follow on social media, great podcast. So we know where gas prices are at now. We understand inflation is headed in the wrong direction again. Everything is up in the supermarket except for maybe lettuce and eggs. We understand that the private sector job growth is just horrific. We were promised that we would see a big boom at the end of 2025. We were promised 90 deals in 90 days. And another thing that I point out
about that.
Yeah. And another thing that was a year ago, by the way. And another thing, Brooklyn Dad, that I think is extremely important to note is that he said he would lower prices on day one. But Joe Biden, it wasn't his choice to take over as president during a pandemic. It wasn't his choice for Vladimir Putin to invade Ukraine. But yet it was Donald Trump's choice, make no mistake about it, to enter us into an ill-advised and illegal war. That's such a big fundamental difference here, right?
Oh, absolutely. And let me say, add this also. I have a big problem with Republicans who want Americans to suck it up, do the patriotic thing, to pay a little bit more at the pump for national security. You guys didn't ask us. You didn't ask our opinion. I saw the other day that Benjamin Netanyahu is bragging that the Trump regime updates him daily. What is that? You haven't even updated Congress. You haven't asked Congress for permission to go into Iran and do all these things, military action or war, whatever the hell it is. It's war. You've dropped thousands and thousands of bombs. That's a war, okay? And you have like half the fleet or whatever there in that region. Come on, that is a war. So I have a very big problem with the fact that the choice was taken away from us. It was not even presented to us. My fellow Americans have a thing. My fellow Americans, we face an unprecedented threat that is imminent, blah, blah, blah. Bring it before Congress. At least I hated what George Bush and his administration did, tricking us into that war. But at least they tried. I mean, at least they tried to put on a dog and pony show for us.
They stuck to one lie, which was weapons of mass destruction. They went through Congress, and I hate to give them anybody credit for lying, but at least they stuck to one lie, right? During the past month, what have we heard, Brooklyn Dad? It's so crazy I have to say stuff like this. It is comical. First, we were told that it was about regime change. Then we were told the civilians needed to, quote, rise up, right? Then we were told they were an imminent threat to us. Then we were told they were planning on attacking Israel. Then we were told weapons, of mass destruction, uranium, even though we were told we obliterated it 8 months ago. Then when that didn't work, then it was about the ships. It's like they can't even stick to one narrative. And then it always goes back to, well, they're an evil regime. And now we're learning more lies. And Donald Trump says, well, they have a much smarter regime now that's less radical. What? You have the Ayatollah's son in there, a younger, probably more capable and more radical regime. Yep. It's insane.
Yeah. And on top of it all, of it all, the people who are managing this war are the most incompetent, the most ridiculous people. Like Pete Hegseth. Come on, man. That guy has no business being at the head of the of the Pentagon. I don't care if you put a super duper Republican on top of there. The guy's been Republican his whole life. Put somebody who's competent, who knows what the heck he's doing, who doesn't just like spew out macho slogans and, anti-woke nonsense. Let's get somebody. This is national security. If you're serious about national security, what do you have these buffoons running the show for? Where was the plan? I heard Hillary Clinton the other night talking about how ridiculous it was, the notion that Donald Trump had no idea that they were going to close the Strait of Hormuz. And she said, in all the war games we had in preparation, like, this woman was part of war games and part of preparation for contingency plans for Iran. What is Donald Trump doing? He's busy at the UFC. He's busy playing golf. People in his regime have complained on the down low, anonymous complaints that it is hard to get him to sit still to take a regular briefing. He won't even read the security briefings. You know how crazy that is? So he's making decisions on information that he hasn't processed, that he doesn't even know. Yep. That is just, I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it again until I'm blue in the face. Donald Trump absolutely has to be removed from office. And I say that knowing that, the other kid destroyer, JD Vance will be sitting in, but at least he's not insane. And I believe at least he might read a security briefing. I think he has the capacity to do so. I think he would be a little less chaotic,
right? As much of and we agree, as much of a horrible human being that JD Vance is, and as much of a horrible president he would be, I think I would probably take him over Donald Trump. It's a very bad decision but I'm not sure that JD Vance would have gotten us into this war. I'm not sure that JD Vance would be posting on social media going after Megyn Kelly and people like that every day. I don't know. I don't think JD Vance would maybe do the DoorDash thing that Trump wanted and what was executed yesterday. As bad as a person and as a horrible human being as JD Vance is, maybe I guess I would take him over Donald Trump. Boy, that's a really it's
the choice between diarrhea and vomit. I hate to say,
yes, right? I agree.
I think if I had to choose, if I had one of those substances on my shirt, I probably would go with vomit over diarrhea. And that's a horrible choice to have to make.
That is a very good analogy, though. I have to say, but as disgusting as it is, I think that's a really good analogy. Or you could just go to Taco Bell. Wait, Taco Bell doesn't sponsor the show, do they? I just wanted to make sure. Brooklyn Dad, let's end on a good note. By the way, as I've always said about you, you're a hero for what you do. I love your content. I have for years. and it's great that we can be friends, and you know, I can do your pod, you can do mine, because I just so love what you do. And I know you did JoJo's podcast last week. I think JoJo just, you know, she does my show all the time, and I just love having you guys in my inner circle, because you're just wonderful people. Can you give out that information about your podcast, which I recently went on, which was so much fun? Give out that information, and not that you need more followers, because you have like a gazillion more than me, but give out that information and how people can follow you and watch your podcast, because it's awesome.
Brian, thank you for saying those very kind things. JoJo and I actually have a weekly show together.
Nice.
Yeah, it's every Thursday. It's the JoJo and BDD show Thursday on Substack.
I know that. I did not know that.
It's either at 4 or 4:30, depending on, you know, if her son has a baseball game or whatever. We're flexible, but it's around that time. And my show, The Defiant Weekly, is every Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. Last week, I think I had Malcolm Nance, was fantastic. Oh, and tomorrow, JoJo will be joining me. So,
nice.
You Trumpers, you MAGAs, make sure you put that on your calendar, because we know you love you love her. You love her as much as you love me. So
he is a feisty one, and there are a few times I've done Pierce Morgan with her, and there's nobody better that I would want in my corner on a show like Pierce Morgan than JoJo. She doesn't mess around, let me tell you.
Right. Yeah.
She's the best, and neither do you. Brooklyn Dad, it's always a pleasure having you on. I greatly appreciate the time, and let's do it again soon, my friend, and be safe, okay?
Thank you, buddy. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. There you go. Brooklyn Dad Defiant, everybody. One of my favorites. Not only one of my favorite people, right? But his content on social media, his podcast is great. I got to watch that podcast with him and JoJo. I didn't even know they were doing that every week. So I got to check that out, and you should check it out too. I learned something new today. All right. So we're going to switch topics here real quickly. And before I introduce my next guest, I want to play you a little bit of video, because I talked about this yesterday, and it is the story of a woman who is a reporter, and I use that word reporter very loosely, for Turning Point USA. She shows up, her name is Savannah. She shows up to an anti-ICE protest in Minneapolis, and I'm going to play you a short clip of what appeared to be her getting assaulted. Watch this.
Guys, it's over. It's over. Back the fuck up. It's over. It's documented. She'll get charged. It's over. Dude, we love you. We love you. We love you.
Okay. So what you saw there is a very small tidbit of what took place. I've seen full version videos. I've seen different versions of what took place. And I posted a lot of things on social media yesterday. I posted my distaste for her. Never did I say she deserved it. Never did I endorse violence. In fact, I said the contrary to that like 20 times. And I have evidence of that. It's on my social media page, and I did videos about it. So a guy who's done the show before, his name is Alex Stone. He's known as Roger Stone's nephew. He went on social media, and he said, well, he did say he appreciated me being nice to him at AmFest, which I was. I was nice to a lot of people at AmFest. I want to read his quote real quick, and then we'll talk about it. He said, you are full of garbage on this post. Savannah was not agitating. She was not asking people questions. She was quietly filming, and people figured out that she works for Turning Point. She was not looking for trouble. Then he went on to say she's only 100 pounds and she would shove by a man 240 pounds. That's irrelevant. You can be 80 pounds or 500 pounds. Assault is assault. So I think that's irrelevant. Furthermore, it's clear as day that the man did not give her a light push that was aggressive with intent to harm her. That's objective, but we can get into that. I said Savannah is one of the worst that America has to offer. I'll give reasons why I feel that way. And then he says the man who shoved her must be the scummiest of the scummiest. I do not care that you're are liberal or that you are vehemently disagree on most things. This is disgusting behavior, and I'm actually shocked that you can defend this. Alex Stone joins us right now on the program. He tweeted that out. Alex, I appreciate you being here. How are you?
Brian, I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Sure. I appreciate you having this conversation. Okay, help me understand this. Where did I defend assault in any of my tweets? Did I ever defend it?
No, you didn't defend it, and I misspoke when I said that, and I will give you that. What I was calling you out on was your seemed to lack care for this, about this, that conservative journalist Savannah Hernandez was assaulted. And I looked through your posts, Brian, and the first post that you made about this was maybe Trump will call them hostages and patriots and give them a pardon, obviously referring to January 6th. And then the second post, I understand why you did that, but bro, that was 6 years ago, man.
I don't care.
Why are we still? I understand that. Okay, go ahead.
I'll answer your question. That's a very good question you asked. I'll tell you why. Because the people like you and others, with respect, that are calling on these people who committed assault to go to jail, which, by the way, I've been out in the open on that. If you assault somebody, there should be an investigation and you should be held to the highest extent of the law. I said that 30 times yesterday. The same people that are calling for these people to go to jail are the same people that had no problem with Donald Trump calling those people who beat cops on January 6th hostage and patriots. And while it was 6 years ago, Donald Trump is still the president of the United States, and those people who still support him want these people to go to jail. That's what I would call hypocrisy, and I want consistency. That's why I bring that up, Alex.
Sure. Well, fair enough. And I think you're right. Anybody that assaults anybody is wrong in doing so, and that's not a good thing. And anybody that is condoning that is in the wrong. But what I'm upset about is the fact that it took you like 7 posts to be able to actually condemn the violence. I went through and bookmarked every single one of them. The second post, Trump reposted Priya Patel, and you said Trump pardoned and called those who beat cops on J6 patriots and hostages, you MAGA grifting. I'm not going to finish that because I am a Christian and a follower of Jesus. Like, what's the point? What's the point of this? Like,
sure.
Why did it take you so long to condemn it?
It didn't take me long because I also went on the air before I put any of those posts up. I went on the air yesterday, and you can go into my live feed on my actual show. And I said, and I've always said this, I've been very consistent on this when it came to Charlie Kirk. I shouldn't have to continue to say it. I say it every day. I call out political violence on either side. It's wrong. What happened to Charlie Kirk was horrible. And by the way, Savannah was not injured. I'm not condoning what took place if anybody assaulted her and it wasn't self-defense. I'm not condoning any sort of political violence, but I've called it out on both sides, and MAGA Republicans do not. And the people who you support, like Donald Trump, I call out hypocrisy. I don't like hypocrites. I want everyone who breaks the law to be held to the highest extent of the law. And the first video I put out yesterday, maybe it wasn't a tweet, but it was on X, I called out the violence. You could look at the video that I also put out. I've been very consistent on that. And I think that's really, really important to note. And basically everybody that's on the right, and I know people on X, 90% of people are conservative. I really don't care what people say. But are you condoning woman abusing? The stupid comments are just one after another after another. I don't condone any forms of political violence, but she is a grifter. And let me tell you why I don't feel bad for her. I'll answer your question. Okay. When people put out tweets like Savannah, like, for example, it's 6 a.m. and the first thing my Uber driver said to me is, "Hola, no hablo inglés." They all should be deported. Mass deportations need to happen, and they need to happen now. If you are a racist, and that's what she is, and if you think that if you don't speak English, you should be deported, then you are a horrible human being. I think Savannah is a horrible, atrocious human being. I'm not condoning what happened to her, but I don't feel sorry for her. And
do you think that Savannah Hernandez is racist?
I think that tweet is absolutely racist. What you're basically saying,
she's literally Hispanic.
Don't care. You can be black and you could be racist. You could be white and you could be racist. There are Hispanics that are racist as well. I don't care what the color of her skin is. What I'm saying is when you make a tweet like that and you say my Uber, she didn't even say Uber driver. She says my Uber, I don't know, hablo inglés, doesn't even know if this person is legal or not. I'm sure the person is legal because this person is an Uber driver. You need a social security number. And she's making the case that if you don't speak English, you should be deported. It's a bigoted view. It's bigoted. And if you're a bigot, while I don't condone being shoved to the ground, let's dissect this video for a moment, shall we? The second she gets up, she starts to leave and she's smiling. And then she fixes her hair for the camera because she knew this was going to be a viral moment. I'm going to show you another screenshot. And this screenshot that my producer is going to put up right now is before anybody actually touched her. This has been proven in the video and people can watch it. Again, Not condoning anybody putting their hands on her. That's wrong. It's assault. People shouldn't do it. But the picture we're showing right now is her putting her hand in somebody else's face. That's also illegal. Now, you could make the argument, well, they were getting it in her personal space too. Okay, let's let the chips fall where they may. She's not innocent in all this. Neither are Cam Higbee and Nick Sorter and these right-wing grifters, and that's what they are. They go to these events and they want to be shoved and they want to be pushed. And I guarantee you she will never admit this. I guarantee you she wanted this to happen because this helps her. I'm not condoning what happened to her, but she's making more money. She makes her appearance on Laura Ingraham yesterday. Yesterday, she wakes up and she tweets out, "Oh, I've got headaches. I'm in neck pain." Boy, she looked really good yesterday on the Laura Ingraham. So I think she's full of crap, Alex, and she's a grifter. Where am I wrong? Tell me.
I don't think that she's a grifter at all, and I don't think that she had this coming or that she was trying to make this happen. I think it was very clear from the videos that we've seen that she was taking video. She wasn't talking to anybody. She wasn't interviewing anybody. She was taking video of what was going on. And the reason I know that that is what happens is because I have worked directly with Frontlines before. I work directly with Frontlines contributors as well, doing their social media. I see what they do. I watch how they do it. I understand their standard operation procedures, okay? This was not something that she was going and talking to people or trying to get a rise out of them by saying, you know, what is a woman or anything of the conservative taglines.
Before.
She has done that, but she wasn't doing it there. She was not trying to get a rise out of anybody. Sorry, repeat that.
Is that a journalist, you think? When someone goes around to events and says, what's a man and what's a woman? Is that journalism?
Why is that relevant?
Because people are calling her a journalist, and you said she's not a MAGA grifter. We could agree to disagree on that, but you think she's a journalist? You think a journalist?
What's the definition of journalism? What's the definition of a journalist?
Sure. I think, first of all, I think the definition of a journalist wouldn't be somebody that worked for Alex Jones. I think that's you lose a lot of credibility when you work with somebody like that who says a school shooting didn't happen in Connecticut. So that's number one. Number two, when you're a journalist, I think and I'm not a journalist. I had a conversation with Jack Posobiec about this in Phoenix a few weeks ago. You're not a journalist if you're an opinionated person who only goes to radical left-wing, whatever you want to call it, whether it's an anti-ICE protest. I don't think that's radical. But if you only go and interview lefties and try to make them look stupid, you're not a journalist. You do both. You go to both right-wing and left-wing events, and you ask challenging questions to both sides. That's what a real journalist would do. A real journalist isn't completely one-sided and only tries to make one side look stupid. You go to both rallies, you ask questions. And she doesn't do that. At a minimum, she's extremely biased, and I guarantee you she's loving all this attention. She's just like Nick Sorter. Do you think Nick Sorter is a journalist?
I would say by the dictionary definition of journalist, yes, Nick Sorter is a journalist. Savannah Hernandez is a journalist.
So you think going outside in the middle of the night to Tim Walz's home and screaming out the R word, by the way, I don't think I can say the word on the radio, but it's a word that is very disrespectful towards people who have special needs. That's what Nick Sorter did. He went in front of Tim Walz's home, screaming out the R word in the middle of the night when Tim Walz had to call the police. That is not the behavior of a journalist. He's not a journalist. He's a grifter. And anyone who acts in that way is not a journalist. You're not a serious journalist. You're biased and you're a buffoon. I think Nick Sorter's a buffoon. I think Cam Higbee's a buffoon. And by the way, these people, and this is just my opinion, Alex, you have the right to disagrei with me. But
I disagree.
Okay, that's fine. But if you think someone's a journalist that goes in front of Tim Walz's home and screams out the R word in the middle of the night, then I don't know how you can think that. And then a Cam Higbee type. If somebody takes off Cam Higbee's hat, he acts like he was just sexually assaulted. Okay, and then they tweet about it for months. That's why I use the term grifter. Savannah is lying when she says she has headaches and neck pain. Okay, it's BS. And she's going to grift off of this and tweet about it every single day for the next 3 months, the same way that Nick Sorter did, the same way that Cam Higbee did. And I'm just sick of these people. And that doesn't mean I think she deserved to be pushed to the ground. And I'm the only person, by the way, that talked to Chris. I talked to him and his wife on the phone yesterday. Chris is the guy who pushed her to the ground. Now, he has not been arrested yet. What I know is that he lost his job, his wife lost her job, and his daughter is no longer on the soccer team. I don't know whether he's going to be prosecuted or not. I've given them the opportunity to come on the show and give their side. I've also given Savannah, who I've talked to on social media, the opportunity to give her side as well. What I do know is that no physical contact should have ever been made. I don't condone it, and I would never condone it in any fashion. But these people know what they're doing when they go to these events. They know who they're going to be dealing with, and they want viral moments. And sometimes those viral moments happen like what happened to Savannah, and she's going to be making a lot of money off it.
So you said that you invited Savannah to come on your show?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Would you ever expect her to actually come on your show with how vile you're talking about her?
There's a lot of people that talk a lot of vile about me, and I still do their show.
Well, I mean, good for you then.
That's their choice. She doesn't have to. If somebody takes time, just like Alex, sorry to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
We disagree on everything, but you've always been respectful to me. I've never, when you come on this show, I treat you with respect as I do with anybody, unless they give me a reason not to, if they're disrespectful to me. If she came on this show and she took the opportunity, then I would be respectful. I would be opinionated. I'd be honest, but I wouldn't be disrespectful to her. She doesn't have to come on this show. Nobody does. I'm just saying I gave her the opportunity. If I'm going to give the people the opportunity that allegedly assaulted her, I'm also going to give her the opportunity to come on because I think that's fair.
Sure. I appreciate that. I appreciate the fact that you would do that. I did watch your video where you said MAGA journalists assaulted, MAGA hypocrisy, and you made it clear at the beginning that it was wrong, and I appreciate that that it was wrong. You keep talking about how she's a grifter for doing this. Does it not seem like you're grifting off of her supposed grift? You've posted about it like 20 times, bro.
So it's my job to cover the news of the day, of the week. If that's a conservative journalist who's assaulted, and by the way, this story has been covered on every news outlet. It's my job to cover the news. It's my job to cover what's in the news. This is one of the biggest stories of the news cycle. So I'm going to cover it. I cover everything from what the DoorDash story yesterday to Iran to Swalwell, who I also called out, to the Jesus pick, which I would assume you have an opinion about that. It's my job to cover the news. And that's what I do. So when I use the term grifter, here's what I mean by that. If she was going to an event and doing legitimate interviews with people and not asking what's a man or what's a woman, which she's done in the past, which I think is absolutely stupid. And if she was actually doing a job and covering a story, then that would be different. And then if somebody physically assaulted her, which by the way, I'm not condoning what happened to her. But I would feel a little bit differently about the situation, even if you're a reporter on Fox News, right? Let's just say it was Peter Doocy. I don't necessarily like Peter Doocy, but if he went to that event and he was just conducting interviews and somebody assaulted him, I wouldn't call him a grifter. He was doing his job. She is there for viral clickbait moments. That is why she's there. She's not a journalist. She worked for Alex Jones. A legitimate journalist doesn't work for a guy who is a conspiracy theorist who thinks that a school shooting, the parents were actors. It's an issue of credibility, Alex, right? There are always going to be people that are going to have their bias. I understand that. But a real journalist covers both sides. I'm not a journalist. I'm an opinionated talk show host. I've been putting Eric Swalwell on blast ever since I heard about this story. I begged for him to step down yesterday. Many people on the right were not calling for Gonzalez to step down, and they still support Donald Trump. So I'll give you an analogy of what I'm talking about real quickly here. I'm sorry if I'm being long-winded, but I just want to explain to you my train of thought here. The same people on the right that still support Donald Trump are the people that called for Swalwell to resign. They are hypocrites. The same people who think the people who pushed Savannah to the ground should be in jail are the same people that called those on January 6th hostages and patriots. They are hypocrites. That is where my anger comes from. I want everybody to be, I guess you could say, consistent. That's where my anger comes from, Alex.
Well, fair enough. And I think it would be great if our country was more consistent and less hypocritical, if you will. my issue that I'm facing right now, my dilemma that I'm facing right now, as far as Savannah goes, and you saying that she's not a journalist because she worked for Alex Jones, bro. That was like in 2018, and this is like almost 10 years ago. Second of all, she does go and report stories that are unbiased. I mean, 2 weeks ago, she just went to North Texas to report on some massive stuff that's going on in North Texas. Like, a lot of what she does is reporting.
What's the massive stuff that's going on in Texas?
Oh, basically like a whole Islamic center in North Texas.
Right. That's what every right winger, like the Nick Shirleys of the world, are doing. They go after Muslims. Okay. I'm so glad you brought this up, because so many people on the right that talk about Somali fraud and they attack Muslims are the same people, again, hypocrisy, that have no problem with Donald Trump pardoning over 70 people that have committed billions of dollars in fraud that don't pay back the restitution. Has Savannah ever covered that story? Has she ever covered?
I'm unaware.
No, exactly. So she hasn't covered the story of the president of the United States that's pardoned people that have committed billions of dollars in fraud. But let's go after those Muslims and minorities, because we know Savannah's a racist. When you say a group of people should be deported because they don't speak English, which, by the way, Savannah has said multiple times on social media, it's a bias. That's not being fair. That's what right-wing quote unquote grifters are doing. It's what Nick Shirley is doing. Nick Shirley's not a journalist. He's a buffoon. That's what Nick Sortor is doing. That's what Cam Higby is doing. Have any of these people on the right called out the fraud within the Trump administration, the $1 billion crypto scandal that the family has made? No, but they covered Hunter Biden selling paintings for $50,000. They covered that. They cover Hunter Biden. They still talk about Joe Biden and Tim Walz and fraud, but they don't cover the president of the United States, who's literally committing fraud right now. He's selling pardons. They talk about drugs and how Joe Biden let all these people in this country that smuggled in drugs. Do they talk about the pardons of Donald Trump, pardoning people that bought literally billions of dollars in crypto that he pardoned, that smuggled in drugs? No, of course not. Alex, it's hypocrisy. I want consistency. I'm with you on fraud. If Savannah cares about fraud, great. Then call out the president of the United States. Call out his pardons. Call out the ballroom. Call out every single time he plays golf, he goes to one of his resorts, and the American taxpayer has to pay for it. I want consistency. I make no mistake about it. You know I'm anti-Donald Trump, right? But if somebody on the left commits fraud, I believe Nancy Pelosi committed insider trading. I think that should be investigated. But I want consistency. And Alex, I know I keep bringing it up, right? Savannah, when was the last time she went after a MAGA Republican? When was the last time she investigated a MAGA Republican? When was the last time she went to a MAGA rally and asked tough questions to MAGA Republicans? The answer is never. That's not a journalist. That is a biased grifter. And I have a serious, I know we disagree on this, but I want real journalism. I want people to go out there and get the real story on both sides. She doesn't do that, Alex. She doesn't do that. Go ahead.
Well, I obviously we disagree, and obviously you're not going to change my mind, and I'm not going to change your mind. I've said what I believe, and you've said what you believe. I will say I really do appreciate you for wanting transparency, for wanting truth, and for wanting consistency, which I really respect about you, Brian.
Yeah, thank you, Alex. But let me ask you a question here, and maybe I'm wrong. Can you give me an example, since we're talking about Savannah? Can you give me an example of any reporting she's ever done that made MAGA Republicans maybe look bad, or any accountability to MAGA Republicans? Just one story. I want to know that I'm wrong.
Could you repeat the question?
Give me one example that Savannah has ever done in her reporting that made a MAGA Republican look bad, that made Donald Trump look bad, or any type of investigation. Has she called out Epstein and the way Trump has handled Epstein? I want to be wrong here, Alex. I want to be able to say, Alex, you're right. Savannah's done some pretty good journalism and good reporting on Donald Trump and some of the fraud. Or I mean, is there one example you can give me? Because I want to know that I'm
unsure. I'm unsure.
Because based on my knowledge, Alex, she hasn't. And if somebody could point out like some reporting that she's done that's also put accountability on the other side of the aisle, then I would say, okay, that's legitimate. Okay, give her some credibility. I don't think she has any. And you mentioned like Alex Jones, right? I don't care if it was 8 years ago or 20 years ago. If you have a journalism degree and the person that you decide to work for is the guy that basically thinks the earth is flat, because that's who Alex Jones is. I think most of us could probably agree, even if he got a few things right, who cares? When you say a school shooting didn't happen and you have a journalism degree and you say, hey, that's the guy I want to work for, you lose all credibility, Alex. And I would say that about anybody, if it was somebody on the left or the right. It just, I'm sorry what happened to her. Okay. I'm sorry she was pushed to the ground, I guess. But there's people that I have respect for that are on the right that I have respect for. She's not one of them, Alex. She's just not one of them, brother.
And that's your prerogative. I did look up her tweets about Epstein, and she does have multiple tweets calling out the Trump administration, Pam Bondi, about the handling of the Epstein files. So she has been consistent and good in that.
I'm glad she put out a couple tweets. I'm wondering if she actually went out to do some interviews with anybody. I'm wondering if she ever specifically called out Donald Trump. I'm wondering if she went to any rallies and asked people about the Epstein files and the handling of the Epstein files. I wonder if she went to any Trump rallies asking critical questions about the Trump administration. That's the type of reporting that I'm talking about. I'm glad she put out a tweet or two, but did she go the extra mile? She goes to these anti-ICE rallies, right? She goes to all these events that where lefties are at. Did she go to any events on the right and talk about the criticism of Epstein? I guarantee you the answer is no. That's the kind of reporting that I would like to see, to be fair, and she doesn't do that. I'm glad she tweeted out a couple things, because guess what? Many in the MAGA cult actually agree with her and agree with me that the handling of the Epstein files were awful, but it doesn't change the fact that Todd Blanche today just said that he can't release the rest of the files. He's lying. But if it's not a grift, let's see how long Savannah keeps tweeting about her being pushed to the ground.
I'll give it about a week.
Okay. I guarantee you she'll still be talking about it in a month. But hey, we'll have to wait and see, Alex. Before I let you go, what are your, if you don't mind, if you have 5 more minutes, do you have 5 more minutes?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Let's switch the topic since I have you on. I think we've hit that one pretty good. What are your thoughts on the Iran war?
I'm not happy about it. President Trump very clearly ran on no new endless wars. I think it remains to be seen on whether this will be an endless war. Now, we'll see what happens. President Trump receives the best information possible from Tulsi Gabbard, and he decides what he wants to do with that information. I believe that if President Trump were not fully or totally justified in doing so, I believe Tulsi Gabbard would have resigned from her position as Director of National Intelligence after he decided to strike Iran in the summer of last year. Tulsi Gabbard, when she ran for president in 2020, she made it clear how she felt as if Donald Trump wasn't doing a great job on the Iran war. So I think that we would no longer see Tulsi Gabbard if it was not justified in any way, shape, or form. I'm just not happy with the economy right now due to it.
I think you're not alone on that. I think just about everybody is not happy with the economy. I just don't understand why we went there. We keep hearing a different narrative every week. We hear first it's regime change, right? I spoke with Brooklyn Dad Defiant about this. Every week it seems like there's another reason behind it. What did you make of the Jesus pick? That I know you're a religious man. What did you make of the pick that we're putting up here of Donald Trump basically depicting himself as Jesus and then saying, "Oh no, I was just trying to be a doctor." What did you make of that?
I saw that immediately and I posted it on X and I said, this is blasphemy. It got 300,000 views and I had so many people in my comments saying, don't touch God's anointed, don't touch God's David. Listen, I voted for Donald Trump. I've supported the man for a long time, but my Christian faith comes over anything. And so to see that and then to see him go and say, oh, it was just me as a doctor, as a Red Cross doctor. I'm like, dude, are you, it's insane. I think it's insane. I think it's blasphemous. And I'm looking at the comments. I am not supportive of Donald Trump right now. I want him to succeed, but I am certainly not happy with him.
All right. Well, here's a tough question for you. If the elections were tomorrow and it was Donald Trump versus Kamala Harris, who do you vote for?
I'm not voting for Kamala.
Would you vote for Trump?
I would likely vote for Trump over Kamala Harris.
Even though
just because I'm not happy with Trump and I'm not fond of Trump and that he basically blasphemed my God doesn't mean that I'm all of a sudden a liberal and a leftist such as you.
No, I didn't say that.
I understand that, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to be and go and vote for Kamala Harris. Not happening.
And just to be clear, I'm not a liberal or I lean to the left on social issues. I didn't vote for Barack Obama and I didn't vote for Hillary Clinton. I just choose not to vote for a liable sexual abuser, 34-count felon who gets us into illegal and ill-advised wars. I tend not to vote for a guy who's in the Epstein files 30,000 times. And guess what? That has nothing to do with what faith I have. I just want a decent human being in office, even if I disagree with their policies. I choose not to vote for people like that, who have 25 plus women have accused him of rape or sexual assault. When I hear people talk about their faith and people have the right to believe in whatever God they want, freedom of religion, I'm all for it, right? But I don't understand how people talk about their faith and then talk about the guy who holds a Bible upside down, who sells Bibles made in China for $1 for $60 a pop. The guy who cheats on every woman he's ever been with, who raw dogs, pardon my French, a porn star and then pays her $130,000. The guy who brags about grabbing women by the genitals. The guy who brags about going into teenage girls' locker rooms without their permission. I respect anybody who is a religious person. But Kamala Harris, and I'm not trying to change your mind here, I'm just giving you my position. Kamala didn't do any of those things. Joe Biden went to church every Sunday. When was the last time Donald Trump went to church? If we're going to be on the topic of religion.
I don't know.
I mean, does any of that, listen, I guess I threw a lot of things at you there, Alex, to be fair. But all those things that I just mentioned, how do you square that up with your faith?
Because my faith is in Jesus Christ, not in any mortal man, not in what people have done or have not done. I voted for President Trump because I believed in his policies. Okay.
And how's
That's
that
why I
working out?
voted for him.
And how's that working
And
out?
I'm not currently happy with it.
Were you happy with his policies in 2016 to 2020 when he got us $8.2 trillion in debt and his handling of the global pandemic? Did his policies work then when he said he was going to build a wall and Mexico was going to pay for it and he was going to hire a special prosecutor to go after Hillary Clinton? Did his policies and behavior work when he took COVID press conferences and turned them into campaign rallies? What did he do in his first administration where he said, man, those policies really worked?
Well, in President Trump's first administration, I was like 12 to 16. So
Okay,
I didn't really care.
Okay, fair enough. I apologize. I didn't realize you were that young then. So, okay, that's fair. Fair argument. Let's talk about the last year and a half. What policies has he executed that you say, man, I'm really glad he did that?
I think he's been good on locking down the border.
So immigration policy, is that a fair assessment?
Yes.
Okay. So let's talk about that for a moment if we can. What would you say, and what do you think Jesus would say, to interject your religion into this, about separating families, nonviolent criminals, and people that have lived in this country for decades that have never committed a violent crime, just a misdemeanor, that are being sent to El Salvador prisons? What do you think Jesus would say about people that are seeking asylum from Mexico, where it clearly states in our laws and in our Constitution, if they're seeking asylum and they're filling out the proper paperwork, it is illegal for them to be deported. Yet Donald Trump has deported thousands of those people. He has detained 5-year-olds. I understand you want people deported, but what about the way he's going about it? And what happened to Renee Good and Alex Preddy and these ICE agents all over the country? Do you think he's implementing immigration policy correctly?
I as far as Alex Preddy is concerned, obviously ICE can do better. And it's sad that the man had to, am I allowed to say unalived or is it murdered? I don't know. I'm typically on TikTok. Okay.
Yep.
It is sad that he was murdered. It is sad that the other female, I don't remember her name off the top of my head.
Yep. Renee Good. Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
It is sad that she was murdered. Okay. And ICE needs to do better.
So I'm happy to hear you say that, because I think to give you credit, Alex, there's a lot of, and I don't know if you consider yourself a MAGA Republican. It doesn't necessarily sound like you are, but there's a lot of people on the right that don't categorize it the way you just did. I agree with you. And Kristi Noem, as you know, called both of them, I believe, terrorists, and Stephen Miller, domestic terrorist and assassin. These are people who Donald Trump hired, right? I mean, the buck stops with him. He hired Pam Bondi. He hired Kristi Noem. I guess my argument is, and again, I'm happy to hear you call that out, is that I know you have your issues with Kamala Harris. I understand you're a Republican. I know you have your issues with Democrats. I don't expect after this conversation you're going to be a lefty, right? But I don't believe we would be in a war, Alex, if Kamala Harris won. And I'm not saying Kamala's perfect either. I don't believe we would have rolled out the red carpet for Vladimir Putin on American soil if Kamala was president. I don't believe Renee Good and Alex Preddy would be dead right now, murdered, as you said, which I agree with, if Kamala Harris was president. I don't believe we would have had the biggest tax breaks for the top 1%. Jesus would not have wanted that. I'm not a very religious person, but I know that Jesus would not be happy with the biggest tax breaks in the history of this country to the top 1%. I mean, that's the argument I make to people that still support Trump. I understand your frustrations with Trump. There's a lot of people that voted for Trump that are very frustrated. I appreciate your honesty. But I just think we wouldn't be in the situation where we're in right now, especially with the economy, if Kamala was still president. Can you give me that? Maybe? What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's impossible to determine whether or not we would be in any war if somebody else was elected or not. And people run on that all the time. Donald Trump has run on that. If this person gets elected, we'll be in World War III. I've never thought that was a credible argument for anything. So I won't give you that because we just don't know, and it's impossible to determine.
When was the last time we had a president that got us into a war?
Into a full-blown war?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, an actual war.
I believe it was George
Correct.
W. Bush.
Correct. When was the last time we had a Democrat president that got us into a war?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Exactly. You weren't alive and I wasn't alive. The point I'm trying to make is George W. Bush got us into an ill-advised war. Donald Trump got us into an ill-advised war. Democrats don't get us in wars. You can disagree with their policies, but Democrats don't get us into ill-advised wars. And for some reason, Republicans do. And Democrats are not perfect. Not saying they are, but Barack Obama got 97% of Iran's uranium without putting any boots on the ground, without any soldiers dying. Our soldiers are coming back now in coffins. It's very sad. The economy is in shambles. Are you worried about the midterms? Are you worried about 2028 as a conservative?
Yes. Yeah, I am. And I think President Trump is dragging people down who are running as conservatives.
I think maybe we should end this interview on something we both agree on. I don't disagree with you there. I don't disagree with you there. Listen, I really do appreciate you coming on. I hope you know that. I hope you know, Alex, especially after this conversation, I am not for political violence in any way, shape, or form, in any way. And to reemphasize that, I don't wish any physical violence against Savannah, even though I think she's a bad person. I know we disagree on that. I don't call on any physical violence, any violence, either side of the aisle. So I hope you know that. Just to clarify, that's important. I hope you understand that.
I appreciate that.
Okay, good. Alex, I appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, all right, there you go. Alex Stone, everybody. Appreciate him taking the time to join us. I'm glad we cleared that up. I do want to play some clips for you, and then maybe we'll get to some phone calls, but why don't we take a quick break first? So when we come back, we're going to do some DoorDash fallout. Is that even, I don't know. DoorDash fallout coming up next. We're learning a little bit more about this woman, Sharon Simmons, the grandma. We're going to be talking a little bit about that, and then more excuses that MAGA mushroom gobblers in the Trump administration are making for Donald Trump. We'll talk a little bit about that. And then we will get to your calls, the fun part of the show, right? At 702-221-7283. Quick break. We'll be back in 90 seconds. It's Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP. welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Tuesday. Leonard Cardinale is going to be joining us on the show tomorrow. FYI, I'm not going to reveal a lot of what was said in a private conversation, but we were talking a little bit about Savannah, who was that conservative Turning Point reporter who was allegedly assaulted. The man in the video who pushed her, name is Chris, and his wife, I spoke to them on the phone yesterday. They have an attorney, and hopefully we will get them on the show this week to give their side of the story, which I gave Savannah the opportunity as well. So hopefully we'll get them on the show a little bit later this week. All I can say, and I can't say much about the private conversation, they're claiming there's another side to the story, and they both have lost their jobs and they have received death threats. I don't wish death threats upon anybody. I said that when it came to Marjorie Taylor Greene, who I'm not a big fan of. Nobody deserves death threats. I've received those as well. But I will give them the opportunity, and hopefully we can get them on the show a little bit later on in the week. So the DoorDash grandma story is gaining some traction. You know, this was the woman that we played yesterday who DoorDashed McDonald's order to Donald Trump, says her husband has cancer. Donald Trump tips her $100. She says $11,000 in tips she made. Yet when you lose your Medicaid coverage, it could cost every family up to $40,000 in coverage. But Sharon Simmons is her name. We've learned that in a way, she's a little bit of a Republican political operative. But on Fox News, she's making the case earlier today. I am not an actor. Watch this.
But Sharon, you're not an actor. This is what you do. People think you're an actress.
I do not act. If I acted, I probably wouldn't look as old as what I do.
No, you do not.
No, you look great.
But no, I am not a paid actor. My life is just like everybody else's. I've lived in Nebraska. We lived in Vegas or outside of Vegas. Yes, I testified at the congressional hearing, but then we moved to Fayetteville to be closer to family.
Mm-hmm.
Let's face it, none of us are getting any younger. And, I want to spend that time with my grandchildren.
Mm-hmm.
I want to enjoy that time. And there's been misunderstandings about, like my taxes and stuff. And I made over $11,000 in tips. Okay. But our personal savings and everything on our taxes, that's kind of our business. I mean, I don't go around asking you guys, hey,
right,
what'd you get on your taxes, And
right.
So I don't feel like that's my responsibility to tell everybody, what I got or what I didn't get.
Yeah.
When I say that, the $11,000, that is the amount of tips that I made. And so that's just.
Got it.
And Sharon, because of Donald Trump, you get to keep all of that $11,000. You get to spend that to help your husband get better who has cancer, or you get to use that for your 10 grandchildren, or however you want. And it's nobody's business. And don't feel bad, because there's some haters out there that will always hate anybody who is standing next to the president. You're a lovely Christian woman. You said your prayers. You love everybody on all sides of the aisle, all walks of life. You're just like everybody else. Most of America's like that. You live in Arkansas. You just want to have more years with your grandkids and your husband, and you're doing a great job. Thank you for not being political. You weren't political there. He tried to ask you about women and men's sports, and you said, I just want to tell you thank you for allowing me to have that $11,000. So that was obvious to most Americans. You're going to have a few haters. It's always bigger in your head. We're in the business. Yeah. We experience this and have for a long time. So
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm sorry
it's okay
that you have to deal with that.
But we signed up for it, and you didn't. So, that's the hard part. So don't worry about the haters. You're a lovely Christian woman.
Yeah, she didn't. First of all, she's spoken at politically motivated events. There's videos of her on social media. So don't act like she's not political. That's number one. Number two, this was staged. You don't just walk up to the White House and knock the door and say, Mr. President, I have your McDonald's. Everything was staged. She decided to go public with this, and now we can find out about her taxes and find out about her life and maybe find out about her being a liar. Number 3, to that nitwit bimbo on Fox News who just said, you're just like everyday normal Americans. You're like all of us. No, you're not. This woman who delivered this food is brain dead. She's trying to be so thankful to the president when she doesn't even know what the big and beautiful bill is. I would imagine if she made $11,000 in tips, she probably falls into the category of somebody that would qualify for Medicaid, which I'm sure she lost under the big and beautiful bill. On average, it costs the government somewhere around $40,000 in a household to be on Medicaid. The fact that her husband has cancer, hundreds of thousands of dollars that she would have qualified for under the Medicaid if Donald Trump didn't take it away from people like her. So you can keep that $11,000 that might keep your husband going on chemo for a couple days. But what she's so stupid and she clearly doesn't understand is Donald Trump's policies have hurt you. And I hope this doesn't happen. I'm not wanting this to happen, but it could affect her husband's life. But she's too stupid to understand that. So you get your little photo op with her, and Donald Trump, the billionaire, gives her $100. Congratulations on that. That $100 will get you really, really far. What a joke. And it is absolutely and positively pathetic. So, ladies and gentlemen, it appears now that even though oil prices are up to around 50% over the course of the last month or so, we give the award for the biggest mega mushroom gobbler of the day to Tim Scott. When talking about gas prices, live with Bartiromo on Fox Business, listen to what Tim Scott said, bringing it back to Joe Biden.
Are you going to be able to message all of this, Senator, before the midterm elections? I mean, you've got to message that national security is a priority. You've also got to message your affordability calls in the face of oil prices that are up 50% in the last month.
Well, they're still lower than they were under President Biden, so that's good news. Number one, yes, affordability will be solved. Number two, the gas prices are coming down. Number three, we can thank President Trump and Republicans for doing both.
Senator, great to see you this morning.
Yes, Senator, great to see you. Did you hear what he just said? He just said we should thank President Trump for gas up 50% in a war that he chose to be in. When Joe Biden was president of the United States, he didn't choose to be in a global pandemic. He didn't choose for Vladimir Putin to invade Ukraine. But Tim Scott wants to blame Joe Biden and say, well, gas prices are a lot lower now than they were under Joe Biden. You mushroom gobbling fool, you. And then there's Senator Roger Marshall, who's saying, and by the way, this clip should be clip farmed and used by the Democrats over the course of the next 3 years. Listen to what Roger Marshall had to say about gas prices.
Good news is we're the leading producer of oil in the world. We're exporting more than we're importing. We're not standing in lines. That overall wages have been growing faster than inflation under this president. Here it is. It's going to be tax day very soon, and Americans are going to get an extra $1,000 or $1,500 rebate as well. So I'm sorry the gas prices are going up, but help is on its way. And your national security, yes, is even more important than your pocketbook.
Your national security is more important than your pocketbook. If I'm Democrats, I play that over and over and over again. Over and over and over again. So apparently we're paying more for gas because of national security. Do you guys feel safer? When you go to that gas pump and you pay $5 a gallon, do you say to yourself, hey, this is the patriotic thing to do because Donald Trump is making us safe? Are we any closer to being safer now than we were a year and a half ago? Of course, the answer is no. But that's what these MAGA idiots do. We're safer now. It's patriotic to spend more money for gas. Hey, they're lower than they were under Joe Biden. Some of the worst people America has to offer. When are we all going to figure that out? Now, it's interesting because Melania Trump held that very bizarre press conference last week, and she wanted to disassociate herself from Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, which, by the way, it's impossible to happen with the emails that are public now. But as we all know, if you have a brain and you have an IQ that's over 20, only half the Epstein files have been released. Some of those files completely redacted. There are still 3 million files that have yet to be released. So live on Fox News earlier today, Todd Blanche was asked about that. Keep in mind, this is Donald Trump's former personal attorney.
I know that you have the authority to go ahead and release more, do you not? And you have the authority to go to Congress, perhaps?
No, we have released everything. So listen, we reviewed 6 million pieces of paper. What we released was anything associated with the Epstein files. So there, we are not sitting on a single piece of paper. Nothing that should be released. If we find something else tomorrow, we'll release it. I don't anticipate we will. So the misguided assumption that there is more to be released is because we reviewed millions and millions of pages within the department, millions of which had nothing to do with Epstein. So it's not as if we looked at a document and said, you know, we're not going to release that. If we didn't release it, it's because it was not responsive to the law and therefore not part of the Epstein files. What we've done with Congress is we by law, we had to make certain redactions by law, including of victims and of PI information. But we said to Congress, any congressman can come in and spend as much time as they want looking at everything unredacted. And if you think we should be doing something, Congressman or Congresswoman, let us know and we will do it. And so we have that. I don't know how this department or this president can be more transparent than saying, American people, here's every single document in our entire database. And if we had to redact it because of victim names, anybody can come look at it if you're a member of Congress. No restrictions, unredacted.
I want to squeeze it.
All right, so let me be very clear. Todd Blanche is lying. There are 3 million files that they have not released in the Epstein files. What is your excuse, Todd? We're supposed to just take your word for it? A person who consistently enables Donald Trump and does everything to protect Donald Trump, and we're supposed to believe you? Only half the files have been released. He's literally lying to all of you, and the MAGA mushroom gobblers who watch Fox News believe him. And then the First Lady came up. The narrative surrounding around the First Lady. By the way, it's not a narrative. In the files that we have seen, there have been emails that have gone back and forth between Ghislaine Maxwell and Melania Trump. But Melania wants to disassociate herself because I guess there's more stuff that's going to be coming out. But Attorney General, Acting Attorney General, I should say, Todd Blanche says, nothing to see here. I'm glad the First Lady corrected the record. So I think we're missing that clip for whatever reason. And hopefully we'll get back to that clip here in a moment. The clip that I wanted to play for you was Todd Blanche, who is talking about false narratives about the First Lady, Melania Trump, and the fact that she corrected the record. That's the clip that we want to play for you. And it's mind-boggling to me because we already have evidence of Todd Blanche and Melania Trump. Melania Trump with Ghislaine Maxwell, I should say, that have sent each other emails. But listen to this.
Well, last week, the First Lady dropped a bomb at the White House. Here's Melania Trump at the White House talking about the Epstein files.
The lies linking me with the disgraceful Jeffrey Epstein need to end today. I call on Congress to provide the women who have been victimized by Epstein with a public hearing specifically centered around the survivors.
Questions that come off of this. Did you know she was going to make that statement? Did you have information prior? Will you act on her request before Congress? And when you remember what the president said, when you give all the files out there, the innocent people are going to be hurt. And we've seen that to some degree. How would you answer those three questions?
So, no, the First Lady does not check with me before she speaks to the American people, and I wouldn't expect her to. But what she said rings true to me. And what I mean by that is there have been tons of false narratives around her and her relationship or lack thereof with Epstein. And so I get her frustration and complaints, and I readily agree with it. As far as her call to Congress, it's exactly the same thing that we have been saying for the past year, which is the following. If there is a victim that has evidence against anybody,
they should absolutely report it to the FBI, and we will take it seriously no matter what. And so her call to Congress to have witnesses come forward and testify is not inconsistent with what the Department of Justice and President Trump, frankly, has been saying for many years. And so I know that
you have the.
All right. So a couple things. First of all, we already have emails between Ghislaine Maxwell and the First Lady. That's number one. Number two, the First Lady didn't even tell Donald Trump that she was going to hold that press conference. Number three, there's a reason why she did it, because she knows there's more stuff that's going to be coming out. Make no mistake about it. You could just look at the pictures and you can see that the First Lady was a lot closer to Jeffrey Epstein and Maxwell than you actually think. And there's more evidence that's going to be coming out that's going to be proving that. I don't believe a word that the first hooker says. And that's what I call her now. I'm not even going to call her the First Lady anymore. I don't believe a word she says. Just like I don't believe a word that Donald Trump says. I've had it. And I believe they are, and they were, and the First Lady was much closer to Maxwell and Epstein than they are explaining to the American people. It wasn't just something where they just saw each other at a party. That's a lie. So going back to Eric Swalwell for a moment, because yesterday I explained that he should step down. And the reason why, and I'm glad he did, in the shred of credibility that he ever has left, maybe he did it because he was forced to. Whatever the reason why he did it, he did the right thing. And as I've said before, at a minimum, Eric Swalwell was hanging out with escorts, cheating on his wife. And if you're an elected official, it's bad enough behavior if you're just a regular everyday citizen. But if you're an elected official, you need to step down. I'm glad he did. It has not been proven in a court of law, or he has not been found liable for any type of sexual abuse. Keep that in mind. I'm not saying it didn't happen, but it hasn't been proven in a court in any way, shape, or form, both liable or criminal. So Representative Andy Ogles said that he thinks Eric Swalwell should be hung. Watch this.
Look, the allegations of rape are, look, consenting adults is one thing, but when you're targeting, you're a predator and you're raping young women, let's hang them. Rapists should be hung, period. No questions. And so now I don't want the Secret Service to come. I'm not talking about Eric Swalwell. I'm not threatening a member of Congress. But the point is we got to say enough is enough. We can't allow this type of behavior. And look, the allegations of rape are.
The point is, when you say somebody should be hung, how's that not a threat? Number two, you have allegations that Eric Swalwell raped women. How many allegations have Donald Trump had? So according by Andy Ogle's own MAGA logic, right? If Eric Swalwell, or he's calling on somebody like an Eric Swalwell to be hung, which I think is insane, what would his comments be about Donald Trump? I just want to ask that question. Let's review, shall we? Forget about Donald Trump being in the Epstein files like 30,000 times. Donald Trump was found liable for sexual abuse, for sexually abusing E. Jean Carroll. A jury of his peers found that. I wonder what Andy Ogles would say about that. What about the 25 plus women that have accused Trump of rape or sexual abuse, including his ex-wife in court documents? Then she retracted after he paid her off. I wonder what Andy Ogles would say about that. Would you just throw that off to the side? Because, ladies and gentlemen, these are the same people who support Donald Trump. I've given you my opinions on Swalwell. I'm glad he stepped down. I thought that was the right thing to do. And if any other investigations come about, I'm all for it. For any alleged victims, I'm all for it. I try to be consistent. But I don't support liable sexual abusers. I don't support 34 count felons. I certainly don't support people who sexualize their own daughter. I don't support people who brag about going into teenage girls' beauty pageant locker rooms. I don't support people that have 25 accusers. But you see, Andy Ogles won't talk about that. It's only if it's a Democrat. Because Andy Ogles is a piece of human scum. The number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation is 702-221-7283. Again, that number, if you would like to be a part of the conversation, now's the time to do so. 702-221-SAVE. The topics, obviously, that we are discussing today and that we are continuing to discuss is the latest in Iran, the Strait of Hormuz, Donald Trump doubling down, making the situation worse. Your thoughts on Eric Swalwell and Gonzalez that are stepping down. And what do you think about Representative Andy Ogles calling on a hanging for somebody who's never been found guilty in a court of law? What do you make of that? And what do you make of the fact that Todd Blanche is saying that they don't have any authority as the acting attorney general to release the rest of the Epstein files, saying there's nothing more to see anyway? What do you make of that? And what do you make of DoorDash grandma, Sharon Simmons, who's gloating about $1,100 in tips she made, and she's not going to be taxed on that? By the way, what did she save? A couple $100? What about Medicaid coverage? About your husband, who, my understanding, sadly, is dying of cancer that needs medical help. You think $11,000 is going to protect him? No, if you were on Medicaid, he would have been protected. You're not, because of Donald Trump's big and beautiful bill. You dummy. You dummy. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. And again, that number, if you want to be a part of the conversation, is 702-221-SAVE. Now's the time to call. Let's go to Jason. Jason is up here on PTL. What's up, Jason?
Mr. Shapiro, we have a little difference of opinion.
Okay.
First, I want to see if you could do me a favor as a journalist, if you can.
Well, I'm not really a journalist, but go ahead.
Well, you could dig deep for me. Now, I heard the reason why Melania is coming out with this statement is because her best friend that was deported to Brazil and her husband that was an ambassador to this country, Brazil awarded her son to her, and the husband stole the son out. And so she's asking Trump to pardon her, bring her back to America. But if she doesn't, she's going to spill all the beans to Melania. That's why I heard Melania was coming out with that. But now is our disagreement. I don't know if you remember this country's history or how many millions of black men have been hung, killed, thrown in jail by false accusations of women. Now, don't get me wrong. I hate rapists. I hate sexual abusers. I hate anybody that takes advantage of the weaker sex. But we also know the history of a lot of women, especially of the Caucasians.
So what do you disagree with me on? Jason, forgive me. What then? I don't understand.
Hold on. Let me finish. There have been, Eric Swalwell has not been proven in a court of law.
I didn't say otherwise. Did I say he was guilty? Jason. Okay, hang on. Jason didn't say he was guilty.
I know, but you're not letting me finish.
Okay, well, I need you to get to the point of where you disagree with me on so we can have a conversation about it.
Right now. I'm getting to this point right now.
Okay, go ahead.
As you see that congressman, when you do that, all they want to do is hang people on that side of the aisle.
I don't agree with him. But what do we disagree on?
I understand, but because I'm scared of Eric Swalwell's life now.
Okay, but again, Jason, what do we disagree on? I'm calling out this Representative Ogles, have I not? I've said he's despicable.
Yeah, I know, but what I'm saying, I'm scared for his life because there's so many people that are saying that he's guilty.
Yeah, I understand. I understand.
His life's in jeopardy.
Okay, well, I don't agree with death threats. I don't agree with what Ogles said. I've been calling it out for the last 10 minutes. So, Jason, with respect, I'm confused. Again, what do we disagree on?
What we disagree on is let the women come with proof. Because like Eric Swalwell.
All right, let's talk about proof. Let's talk about it.
Let me finish. He said that none of these women came forth through his whole term as a congressman, but when he runs for governor, all of a sudden they all come out.
All right, so let me respond to that. Let me respond to that, Jason. So first of all, here's why I said he needed to step down. He is seen in videos with paid escorts. That behavior alone is enough for me to say you need to step down. It's illegal behavior. He's a married man. So let's just start where we have the evidence. We know he's already apologized to his wife with terrible behavior, even if you're not in office, getting a bunch of paid escorts when you're a married man. There's videos of it. So that's number one. That's why I said he should step down. Number two, I've said that I tend to believe alleged victims, but there are exceptions. And I brought up Duke Lacrosse, for example. What I have said it has not been proven in a court of law that he has committed any crimes. I've talked about his behavior. I tend to believe victims, but there are exceptions. I've also said that. So I'm trying to say, I'm trying to understand, Jason. I don't think we disagree. I'm trying to figure out where we disagree on.
Emmett Till, I could go down the line. Emmett Till, I'm talking about us. I'm talking about us as African-American men have seen this thing where we've been accused of something and been hung for it.
And where have I agreed with that? And where have I ever on this show agreed with an innocent man, no matter what the color of his skin, being hung? When have I ever said I'm okay with that?
Sir, I'm not saying you, but what I'm saying is because there's so many people listen to you, some idiotic people might take that to a different level.
I can't control, and I understand, Jason, but I can't control all idiotic people that listen to this show. I can't control their minds. I've been very specific on how I feel. Andy Ogles is a moron. Andy Ogles is a buffoon. And calling on someone to be hung when they haven't even been prosecuted in a court of law is beyond irresponsible. But you know what else is beyond irresponsible? When you're an elected official and you're hanging out with a bunch of hookers when you're a married man. Thank you for the call, Jason. I appreciate it. I was trying to figure out where we disagree. With respect, I don't think we disagree on anything. I was trying. That's why I kept asking you quickly as I go to the YouTube super chat. Lori says Pam Bondi might get contempt for not showing up to get her deposition today, which I hope they will do for the Epstein files, release the files. Yeah, Lori, I tend to agree with you. She was supposed to appear today, and I appreciate you calling in. Ann is next up on PTL. Hi, Ann. Thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Well, since Trump, I'm elderly, and since Trump thinks that he's a doctor, is he going to restore the cuts he made to cancer research and Medicaid and because if he thinks he's a doctor, shouldn't he put in more money for cancer research instead of cuts?
So what you're saying is that, yeah, Donald Trump has taken away money from cancer research and that has affected people's lives a great deal.
And I have had cancer and I'm still under the doctor's care.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
So many people dying, that used to be in the oncology office with me.
Yeah.
I'm concerned about that.
So can I ask you, and by the way, Ann, I'm so sorry. We hope you recover from this, and I'm sorry what you're going through.
Yeah, I'm doing okay, but
good.
I'm just worried about other people.
God bless you for I'm glad you're doing good. So I want to ask you a question. To this lady, this DoorDash lady, her name is Sharon Simmons. As you know the story, Ann, she says that her husband has cancer. And she's gloating about the big and beautiful bill, and she's talking about the $11,000 in tips. I'm wondering, if you were in a room with her right now and her husband, what would you say to them?
I hope that you get the research. I hope we get the research money for cancer. Research, the money put back in, and for medical.
Can you explain to people how expensive getting care for having cancer is and how much money that it costs? Can you give people an idea of
I'm a senior, but I did have copay medicine. I gotta go now. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ann. And I hope you recover. And I'm sorry for what you're going through. I would say that about anybody that's suffering from cancer. It affects all of us. And listen, this lady, this DoorDash lady, grandma, I hope her husband has a full recovery. I really do. But she's a very ignorant woman. I'm sorry. She's extremely ill-informed and she's very ignorant. The number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation is 702-221-7283. As we go back to the YouTube super chat, I want to go to Tony real quick. Tony says, Trump gave DoorDash grandma a $100 tip and asked for 99 back. That's actually really funny. It wouldn't surprise me, Tony. Okay. It wouldn't surprise me at all. It's so absurd and ridiculous. And it was so embarrassing all at the same time. It's just terrible. 702-221-SAVE is the number to call if you would like to be a part of the conversation. Let's see who are we going to next here. Let's go to Dave. Dave is next up on PTL. What's up, Dave?
Hey, Brian, thanks
Hey,
for taking my call.
what's
I
up?
apologize yesterday. I didn't get to the call yesterday. I apologize. I was
That's
working.
all right. You're good.
So, so I want to tell you something, man. This is really depressing. And by the way, the lady, my heart goes out to her for the cancer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, you remember they cut funding for cancer research for the colleges. Remember for the
I do.
university
Yep.
that was. Remember that?
I do.
So I'm keeping. By the way, everything that he's done, I took in notes on everything on my computer of everything to remind me of what this guy did. So the problem with your guests and everything else that everybody else says the same thing. When they vote for a Republican and they're all for the Republicans, and then all of a sudden they have a fallout with their own party, you know, the only thing they got is what? Oh, I'm not going to vote this time. No, I'm not going to vote. You know, all because they know that their party is down to the ground. So they pretty much know that their party is going down. So the only thing they have to say, okay, so we're going to win the Senate and the House, and we're going to win the White House. So you know what they're going to do? All these people that voted for Trump are going to sit back and relax for a while, and they're going to see how the Democrats, you know, run the show. And then all of a sudden what's going to happen, they're not going to like the Democrats when they run the show. The people that sat back that did not vote, here they come again. They're going to vote out another Democrat and vote and put another idiot back in there and do the same thing what the first Bush and then the second Trump is going to do, and then another idiot's going to be in there doing the same thing with the other last two idiots that ran the show that took us to war. That's exactly what's going to do. So these people are just basically saying that, okay, you know, the economy is doing, when they always say the economy is doing good, I'm going to tell you the border. They go back to the border. This is what I wanted to catch people on about the border. Now watch this. People people don't like, they always say the border, but have you ever seen a Caucasian person, you know, go on a ladder and pick oranges or basically do strawberries in the field? And then, you know something, I invite all the Mexicans to come here over the border because you know what? They work harder than the people at Wendy's or the people at the hamburger restaurant or the fast food. These people are lazy in the fast food industry. You have seen more Mexicans that work harder than the Caucasians.
I agree.
I'm not, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to put down Caucasian because there are Caucasians that do work hard.
No, I
But
put
I'm
down
saying
I put down the Caucasians that still support Donald Trump. I'll put them down because they're part of the main reason why we're in this situation we're in right now in this country. A lot of dumb people out there. So I will.
Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to make sure to understand that these people will understand. If you think that the Mexicans are a problem, why don't you go out there in the farms and start picking up strawberries and picking up cucumbers and do it by hand? I haven't seen a Caucasian out there in the fields ever.
Because these people are taking the jobs that Americans do not want to have. I say that over and over and over again. They take the jobs at lower wages. And then the excuse is, well, do you believe in enslaving these people? No, I don't. But these people that are coming over here that are willing to work hard, they're in front of Home Depot. You don't have to pay them a ton of money. They'll do the job that you don't want to do. They want to work hard because they're willing to put in the work because they want a better life for their families. Pay them and let them work. And we need a better, easier pathway to citizenship. And I don't see these people as a threat. Yes, obviously, there are always going to be exceptions. And there's going to be some bad people that are in this country that are undone. I don't want those people in this country. I don't want them in this country. But at the same token, most of these people are good people. I will always be on their side. America was founded on immigrants. And quite frankly, the people out there that say they should all be deported are bigots. They are bigots. We are fortunate to be born in the United States of America. We have a privilege, but we also have a duty to treat people as human beings. In a perfect world, I wish people would come into this country legally. In a perfect world, I wish. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you know, Brian, here's the biggest thing. While this is going to really tick you off, and get ready for this, and you want you to hit a desk on this one. How about this? While all these other people are waiting for an IRS refund, he's over there printing money to support the damn war while I'm waiting for my refund. And who knows that these people may not get a refund.
Yeah.
But yet it's okay to go to war and print the money for over there, but it's not okay for you to get your IRS refund. That's a big problem that I got.
Yeah, I know. Listen, I agree with you, Dave. Great phone call and good to hear from you. I appreciate it, brother. I'll always be on the side of so many of these immigrants, whether they're legal or not. Because guess what? I'm not a bigot. I'm not a racist. And I'm not a white supremacist either. Although I've worked people in, I've had to work with people in this industry that are. I won't mention any names. 702, not Numchuck. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. I definitely wasn't talking about him, but I think Numchuck knows who I'm talking about. 702-221-7283. Let's talk to Donna. Donna is next up on PTL. What's up, Donna?
Hi, Brian.
Hey,
I
what's
even have
up?
one question that keeps bugging me.
Yeah.
Why is he calling DoorDash in Arkansas and not Washington, D.C.?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's another good point. Why is a DoorDash driver who lives in Arkansas delivering McDonald's in D.C.? Why is nobody asked that question? You're the first person. Why is they had to fly her out to D.C.? Think about how pathetic this administration is. Hey, we need to find somebody. Listen to this, Donna. Donna, let's pretend for a moment that you're Caroline Leavitt. Can we do this? And I'm Donald Trump. Can we?
Oh, God.
Hey, Caroline, I want to get somebody from DoorDash that makes a lot of money on tips. Let's try to find somebody. Let's pay them out to come to D.C. and to deliver me some of my favorite McDonald's. And then let's pay her out. Let's give her $100 tip and let's pay for her hotel for a night. What do you think about that, Caroline? Should we do that? Because really, the only thing we can brag about right now is the no tax on tips. What do you think? Should we do it?
Well, I think that McDonald's is cheaper in Arkansas.
I mean, imagine. Hey, Donna, I'm not even exaggerating. This conversation had to happen. It had to happen at some point, right? Somehow Donald Trump in his head said, hey, you know what? Let's get a DoorDasher. They couldn't find anybody in D.C. to do it. Let's find a DoorDasher that's some Republican political operative that supports me. And let's have them deliver me McDonald's and talk about how great the no tax on tips is. That conversation happened.
It's like, I just keep thinking it. I'm like, why is he coming from Arkansas? Why is he in Washington?
Yeah. Maybe they were trying to call Bill Clinton. Maybe they were trying to call
Clinton.
I
don't
know.
Yeah.
You bring up a very good
Brian.
point. Thank you, Donna. I appreciate the call. Thank you. She makes a very valid point. They couldn't find one DoorDash delivery driver that supports Donald Trump or supported this thing. It's just insane. 702-221-7283, 702-221-SAVE. Stephen is next up on PTL. Oh, did we lose Stephen? All right, 702-221-7283. Let's go to Carl. Carl is next on PTL. What's up, Carl?
Hey, buddy.
Hey.
Listen, I got something that I find really going to destroy Trump as far as elections and as far as votes.
Yeah.
You know what he did with the Jesus thing and whatever. And I have a nephew, some relatives in Florida where I'm from originally.
Yep.
Who were devout Catholics. And they were extreme Trump loyalists. And they are now so against him for belittling they say their religion and what he did to this, not even to mention what he said about the Pope. But what's going to happen is this country is made up of so many Catholics, whether they're Hispanics or whatever, and he's destroying his anybody who supports him and whatever, and he's going to lose votes like crazy because of what he's done to Catholics.
Well, you know, I do find this, I use the term hypocrisy a lot when I talk about these right-wing evangelicals, or really any religion. There's a lot of hypocrisy, particularly those that support Trump. So he puts out this image, right, trying to portray himself as Jesus. And listen, rightfully so, a lot of people were offended by that, but they don't seem to be offended by the Epstein files. They don't seem to be offended about what happened to Alex Prudy and Renee Good. They don't seem to be offended for the biggest tax breaks in the history of this country. They don't seem to be offended on gas prices, the war in Iran. That they don't seem to speak out about that. But if they put out an image that is disrespectful to Jesus Christ, you would think that somebody was murdered. I find that just a little bit hypocritical from these fake Christians out there.
I understand what you're saying, but unfortunately, like I said, my relatives in Florida, in the church, almost everybody who came into the church were all Trump supporters down in that area, and they're all now up against him. I mean, he's hurt himself much worse with this.
Yeah, but you know what? I agree. I understand what you're saying, but a lot of these right-wing evangelicals, if the election, Alex Stone is a perfect example of that. I'm fed up with Trump. You know, I'm not happy with this war, but if the election was tomorrow, they would still vote for Trump over Kamala Harris. So they have absolutely no credibility. None, zero.
Well, that's very small percentage of Catholics in the
I
country.
don't know about
be
that.
honest with
I
you.
don't know, Carl, if I agree with you on that. I think a lot of these people that call in and the people that I talk to that are very unhappy with Trump, when I ask them the question, if the elections were held tomorrow, would you vote for Harris or Trump? They would still vote for Trump. These people they're horrible people. I'm sorry. They're horrible. They're horrible.
I understand that, but he's killed himself and anybody who supports him are running in the Senate or the Congress, Catholic votes he's destroyed them. It's just, this has hurt him worse, I think, than almost anything he's done in quite a while.
Okay, so I agree with that. I certainly agree with that. Carl, I don't disagree with you there. I think the war in Iran has certainly hurt Republicans. I absolutely agree with you. And I think that when you look at the standpoint of this Jesus post, sure, I can agree with what you're saying there, Carl. I just think some of these people would still vote for him. Thank you for the call, Carl. 702-221-7283, 702-221-SAVE. Johnny's next. What's up, Johnny?
Hey, hi, Johnny. Hi, Brian. I'm Johnny.
Yes.
And I got to be honest with you. I think that when you are an executive, whether you're the executive branch or a CEO, and you have an ability to play golf and do different things, you're delegating stuff out to your people that can do the job. And that's the job that Trump's doing.
So you think delegating your
he's able to delegate,
yeah,
he's able to delegate his stuff out, get everything done, and still enjoy his golf.
All right. Well, so you think in the middle of a war, when we're trying to negotiate with Iran and a bunch of terrorists, you think it's appropriate for Donald Trump to go to a UFC fight? You're okay with that?
Do you think that he's sitting around a phone somewhere waiting?
Why don't you answer my question?
People have access to.
Why don't you answer my question?
People have access to get him if something comes up, and they're going to.
So you're telling me in the middle of a crisis, when our soldiers are coming back in caskets, you think it's appropriate for the president of the United States to play golf and/or go to UFC fights, and you're okay with that?
Brian, what would you be doing?
I would be working. I would be in the White House. I would be in the White House. I'm answering you. I would be in the White House as president of the United States, as he should be. And I'm not saying it'd be inappropriate for me to get some sleep, but your job should be in the White House while J.D. Vance is over there negotiating with Iran. You should be in those negotiations. Why is Trump not in those negotiations? Why is J.D. Vance being sent over there? And he's at a UFC fight with Marco Rubio? You think that's appropriate?
A good executive tells his team what they want done, and then he trusts them to get it done.
So you trust Pete Hegseth and J.D. You trust Pete Hegseth? You think he's
J.D. Vance is given the direction, and he's over there negotiating it. He's negotiating what his boss wants him to do, and that's what a good.
Wait, I thought Donald Trump. I thought Donald Trump. It was the art of the deal. What happened? There's no more art of the deal. What happened?
He's given it to the people to do it, and that's.
All right, hold on. Let's backtrack, Johnny. Johnny, let's just backtrack. I want to make sure I have your opinion correct. So you mean to tell me that the leader of the free world and the guy that I would assume that you support, you're totally okay with endorsing him delegating responsibilities to others in his administration because he needs to play golf? Is that what you're saying?
It just shows what a true leader he is.
So you think leadership is passing along your responsibilities during a war to other people so that you can play golf?
Around, delegating and not passing.
Got you. Okay. So you think leadership is playing a round of golf on one of his golf courses and delegating responsibility?
They have access to get him if they have a call or they need anything answered. It's not like he's not doing anything. He's still being involved. He's just having some leisurely time, which I think any good executive is allowed to have.
So you think in the biggest, okay, let's go to a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. Let's just say they're about to file for bankruptcy and every single one of their employees is upset. During that time, you think the CEO, you'd be okay with him delegating stuff to other people while he plays golf? And you don't think people within the company might be a little bit upset at that? And they might say, hey, we want the CEO to be a part of these talks. You'd be okay with him playing golf? What are you talking about, bro? What are you're a MAGA, bro. What are you talking about?
We're not talking about bankruptcy. That's
Do you not
ridiculous
understand?
that
Do
he
you
brings
not
that up.
understand? Yeah, you're right. We're not talking about bankruptcy. We're talking about an illegal wall, you buffoon. We're talking about our brave men and women coming home in caskets, you idiot. We're talking about $2 billion a day, you buffoon. No, you be quiet, you buffoon. We're talking about a war. And you're okay with him playing golf, and we're not talking about bankruptcy. No, you're right. We're not talking about bankruptcy. We're talking about people coming home in caskets, you idiot. Thousands of innocent civilians dying, you buffoon, because Donald Trump decided to go to war, and you're okay with this orange turd playing golf and delegating responsibilities, you idiot. You're an idiot.
So this is the part of the call where you raise your voice and call me.
This is the part of the call where the truth comes out, and you are a moron. You're a moron. Just repeat after me. I'm Johnny, and I'm a Trump mushroom gobbler. That's what you are. You're an ill-informed and uneducated, middle-aged, crusty guy. That's what you are.
Access to Trump if they need it. He's got people doing stuff on different branches of his government, and they're all doing their job. They come back to him. He's the point. He gives direction, and he could do it from the Oval Office.
Gotcha.
He can do it from the golf course.
Yeah.
He can do it from his private residence.
Yeah.
He can do it from wherever. And the fact that you don't think that they have access to the president 24 hours a day.
So you think
makes you sound like an idiot.
Oh, okay. So you think during talks with JD Vance in Iran that you think when he's sitting ringside that, hey guys, I got to go for a second. I'm going to miss a little bit of this fight. I got to talk with the Ayatollah. I mean, what are you saying right now? Are you insane? You're insane.
When the planes hit the Twin Towers, President Bush was in the classroom. The aides came to him and were able.
He was
to
in a classroom. He first of all, he didn't.
That's
you
what I
think?
just said.
All right. So this is how stupid this guy. Hold on a second. So you think? Be quiet. So you think that if George W. Bush knew that 9/11 was going to happen, he still would have read a book in that classroom? You idiot. We're in the middle of a war. It already happened. I'm not saying he can't go to a UFC fight if he weren't in a war, but we are already in a war. That would be like George W. Bush going and reading to kids that day after the planes hit the World Trade Center, which he wouldn't have done. You know what he did? He left. He left
for like 20 minutes.
No, he didn't.
20 minutes.
No, he didn't, dummy. No, he didn't. No, he didn't, dumbbell. Get this idiot off my show. Somebody whispered in his ear that we were under attack. He sat there for a few moments, and then he made a brief statement, and he left. You right-wing buffoon, you. Have a nice day. How'd you like that guy to be the CEO of your company? Holy smokes. What a complete imbecile. Anyway, thank you all for joining us. Always great to end on a good note. What a very intelligent caller. My thanks, by the way, to Brooklyn Dad Defiant and Alex Stone for joining us. If you missed it, check out my YouTube page or Facebook fan page at PTL Radio Show, Pushing the Limits. Please go to my website. It is pushingthelimits.live. You support independent media, and if you enjoy the show, I have an announcement to make. In 1 hour, I'm going to be on a syndicated show called The Fallen State. It's out of LA. Peterson is the host. I know he's had some health problems recently. He is a right-winger, so we are going to get into it. I will be on The Fallen State in about an hour. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow with Leonard Cardinale joining us in studio. Have a great day.